good afternoon, or evening, or morning, or whatever time of day you happen to be watching this video. My name is Gretchen, otherwise known as Riken, from the game of Amtgard and the group called the Valley of Smoke. I am here today to talk to you a little bit about roleplay. Now, we've got a lot of new players at my park personally, and they're probably, I know a lot of them are wondering, what is this roleplay? How is roleplay done and everything? And I figured about the only way that I was going to get all of them in a single place at a single time would be to record a video. And in that video, explain what I can about LARPing. Now, before we begin, yes, the headset is not period, get over it. There are DVDs under here in case you're wondering, and the cat's name is Mari for whenever she wanders into the screen. Now then, and yes, I have a lot of stuff to talk about, so I am using notes. Let's begin with what roleplay is. Now, roleplay is not just the story of your character. A lot of people seem to believe that it's, oh, this is my character and my character story. And yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. I love that you have a character. Well done. But it is not your story. It is not all about you. When you think about how to perform live-action roleplay, you have to think about everyday life. If you were to walk into work tomorrow, or into high school, if it were, or whatever you happen to do for every day, and decide that the entire day is going to be about you, what's going to happen? You're going to make an awful lot of people pretty angry, and you're probably going to lose some friends over it. It works the same way in roleplay. Unless you are participating in a specific quest that is actually legitimately designed to be 100% about your character, don't. Don't go into it trying to be a drama queen. Don't go into it trying to make it all about you. Roleplay is about how your character interacts with the characters around you. Those other characters and yourself are going to create a story that ebbs and flows, that actually exists and lives and changes as the act goes on. You may start out with full and utter intentions of sitting by the fire all night long and pretending to be a bard. And by the time the night is over, you may very well find yourself half a mile away surrounded by trolls. It happens. One big thing that happens in roleplay is a question of whether or not roleplay is actually welcome at any given point in time. Now, I don't know how it's done in other games, but this is about Amtgard Roleplay. And in Amtgard Roleplay, not everyone roleplays. There are the people who participate more in the fighting aspect of the game than in the roleplay aspect of the game. And if you're at a large event or even at your own field, there are going to be times when you find yourself, there's Mari by the way, there are going to be times when you find yourself surrounded by people who would rather participate in the fighting aspect than in the actual roleplay. And then you've got a question to answer. You have to ask yourself, what, baby? What? You have to ask yourself, are you going to break the roleplay and interact with the people who don't want to roleplay? Or are you going to continue roleplaying and perhaps create a situation where the people who don't want to roleplay are going to react poorly because you've continued to roleplay? Now, this is something that you have to decide for yourself every time that it happens. When you do decide to interact with a non-roleplayer, there are several ways that you can do this. You can quit roleplaying altogether, and you can look at the person and speak with them as a normal human being. You don't really have to worry that you're dressed in roleplay garb, because if you're at Amtgard, they're supposed to be in a tunic as well. Another way you can do it is you can attempt to draw the non-roleplayer into the roleplay. And it's all a matter of how well you know the person and how you think the person's going to react. If the person doesn't seem to want to roleplay and you don't want to be insulted, because a lot of times they will result to insulting, just go ahead and stop the roleplay and address them in the mundane world. Now, what's next? There are differences between local park roleplay and kingdom roleplay. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Amtgard, I don't know why you're watching this video, but for those of you who aren't familiar with Amtgard is based on a series of kingdoms. And wherever your kingdom happens to be, there are small parks that make up the kingdom. So you've got 8 or 9 different little parks that meet wherever they happen to meet, and when they all join together, they become the kingdom. Now, roleplay at the local level is entirely different from roleplay at the kingdom level. Roleplay at the local level, it's people who you see and interact with every single week that you go out. These are people who you know by name, you know who they are, you know what they like, you know what weapon they're going to pick up before they head out onto the field. You know these people. At the local level, people will often involve little storylines and make up their own plots and even their own little gathering places, and that's just how roleplay naturally occurs at the local level. But when you get into the kingdom level of roleplay, things are entirely different. All of a sudden, you're not interacting with people who you see every single day. You're suddenly interacting with someone who you just met 5 minutes ago. And in a roleplay situation, you may not know that guy's actual name, but you know that his roleplay name is Bob, and that Bob is wearing a sash that says he's a barbarian, and that Bob is playing to be a barbarian. Now, for all you know, the guy's real name could be Jack, but right now, the only thing that matters is that you keep the roleplay going. You have to be willing to learn about the other people's characters and step out of your comfort zone that you normally encounter at the local park. You have to be willing to say, okay, well, Bob and company are planning to do this, and I have a choice. Does my character stay here? Does my character go with Bob and his friends? I don't know Bob. I don't know Bob's real name, but you know what? I think Bob and his friends are going to get into a lot of fun tonight, and this is a chance for you to make a lot of new friends. But like I said, it is different. You are dealing with a much larger group, a group of people who you don't normally interact with, and you are dealing with people who you might not see again for 6 months or a year. So you have to keep in mind that what happens at Kingdom Roleplay, it's not like Las Vegas, folks. What happens at Kingdom Roleplay doesn't stay at the kingdom. It comes home with your character. So if something major happens to your character at the Kingdom Roleplay, you have to be willing to work that into your storyline, and it becomes a growing part of your character. Now, common roleplay scenarios that you will encounter at a kingdom level. I can't speak for kingdoms outside of Crystal Groves, which is located in Maryland, because I have not played at kingdoms outside of Crystal Groves. Did I just unplug my microphone? No, I didn't. Okay. I have not played at kingdoms outside of Crystal Groves, so I can't tell you about them. Sorry. At Crystal Groves, roleplay scenarios that you are likely to encounter. The first is going to be quests. Now, normally when there is a quest at an Amtgard event, at least in Crystal Groves, it is a situation where roleplayers have gathered to fight and battle and to work their way through a storyline that has been created especially for them. Now, the people who like to fight instead of roleplay, they'll join in sometimes. But in general, a quest can normally be roleplayed through. It's just a matter of, are you going to bring your character into the quest situation, or do you just want to play it as a normal character? Now, as somebody who makes quests, I can tell you that the more willing you are to roleplay in a quest situation, the more fun the quest situation will be. Because suddenly it goes from, you're minding your own business and working your way through a plot line to plot line with character involvement, and that's where the real fun starts. Another situation that you will often find at Kingdom is a roleplay tavern. Now, at Crystal Groves, I personally run a roleplay tavern, and there are lots of other people who run their own versions of roleplay taverns. My roleplay tavern, well, any roleplay tavern really, is a gathering place. It's a place that normally consists of a fire and a bunch of people who have gathered around for the sole intent of roleplay. And there's normally not a quest involved or anything that's really going on, so much as it's just a place for roleplay to begin and to foster and to continue. And if you're looking for roleplay when you're at a kingdom, I always suggest that you go looking for a roleplay tavern or a designated roleplay area. If you are wanting to roleplay, these are the places where you're going to find fellow roleplayers that you can actually get involved with, and who knows, maybe you will end up going off to the far end of the half a mile away and ending up getting surrounded by trolls. All I can tell you is it's not going to happen if you don't seek out the fellow roleplayers. Now, one big thing that happens in Crystal Groves is normally Elven Court. Now, Elven Court has gotten a lot of bad rep in the past, and let's just forget all of that. Okay, you're probably sitting there, whatever you're saying, I don't really care. The point is that it is a role-play situation. Okay? And Elven Court, or any of these specific household-style role-plays, these are a group of people who decide to get together at a given night, or a given time, a given day, in order to roleplay out a continuing situation. Now, in Crystal Groves, that situation is the elves are holding court. What happens at Elven Court varies dramatically from meeting to meeting, but the thing that people look forward to is the fact that the elves will meet. And it doesn't have to be the elves. Sometimes there's Dwarven Court. Sometimes the Fae get adventurous and decide to hold a household meeting. It's whatever someone happens to pull out of their hat at the drop of the moment and create as roleplay. Now, one of the most important things you have to realize about roleplay is that roleplay does not exist without the players. People can sit there and make a roleplay scenario and come up with a design and an idea and all of this stuff. But if the people are not willing to roleplay, the roleplay is not going to happen. Now, a lot of you, now that I've spoken about how roleplay works, or now that I've spoken about all that, we're going to save making your character for very last. Because first, I need you to understand how roleplay works. Now, the way that roleplay works, you first have to assume your character. And when you assume your character, you literally become who you are. In the everyday normal world, my name is Gretchen, I'm a newspaper reporter, I go to work, I write my stories, I come home, I relax. In roleplay, my name is Riken Eclipse, and I am a four-tailed kitsune. And when I go to roleplay Riken, I cease to be Gretchen. You have to fully and completely involve yourself in your character, with your character, who your character is. And one important thing that people forget when they are role-playing is that you, Gretchen, are not your character, Riken. You may inhabit the same body, you may be wearing the same clothes you were, but you are not yourself. A well-played roleplay character does not automatically know what you do as a person, okay? Your roleplay character might be illiterate. Your roleplay character could be a stupid barbarian. Your roleplay character could be a high, wise sage. Whatever your roleplay character is, you have to be able to separate them from yourself and understand that this is me as a person, and I know how to do, long division math, and I know how to count to 10 places in pi, and I know how to read and write in 3 different languages. And when you assume your character and begin role-playing, you have to realize that your character doesn't know those things. Most Amtgard roleplay takes place in generally before the 1650s. Normally it's at least around here, it's normally a fantasy medieval setting. So you have to realize that your character doesn't have access to modern day knowledge like you do. Now, this leads to some people calling some devices strange things. For example, one thing that roleplayers will often call like a cigarette lighter, they'll call it a pocket dragon. And a lot of people will refer to their cell phones as fairy boxes. The point is that while you are acknowledging that your cell phone is ringing, you are not breaking the roleplay character to say, hang on, I got a call. You look around and go, the fairies are, someone's fairies are calling them. Who's, you get my point. Another thing that you have to know is that what happens in roleplay is not meant against you personally. It doesn't matter if you end up having a fight with someone, if you end up drawing words, if you end up getting thrown out of a roleplay situation because you're not welcome. You cannot take it personally. This does not mean that you, as a normal person, are not welcome to talk to those people. It just means that you, your roleplay character, were not welcome in that situation. When the line between roleplay and real life disappears and everything gets blurry, that is when undue drama starts. And take it from me, you want to avoid mixing real life drama in with the roleplay at all costs. Crossing that line leads to hurt feelings, leads to loss of friendship, leads to people getting pissed off at other people for no reason other than what happened in a game. And it really sucks. Now, when you are in a roleplay situation, I've already told you, you have to become your character. When you are really and truly roleplaying, you have to act like your character would act. Now, there are the people who believe that roleplay is, someone comes scampering in and goes, let's find a map. We need to find the map for the treasure. And there are those people who go, yeah, well, my character already knows the landscape, so I don't need a map. Okay, great. It's wonderful that you're referring to your character in third person, but this is live action roleplay. That's not how you do it. Someone comes scampering in and says, we need a map. Have you found the map? You need to be able to switch gears immediately and respond like your character responds. Not as third person talking about your character, and not as someone who is trying to ignore the roleplay. You need to switch into your character and become your character, and suddenly the request for a map goes, map? Map? What map? I want to help find the map. Do you know where the map is? Oh wait, do you know who has the map? That would be truly fun. We could go find the map and we can talk to the person. You see how I'm doing this, okay? You become your character and react like your character would. Now this gets particularly challenging if you are playing an evil character, but you are naturally a good person. Now, if you're going to go so far as to call your character evil, and to actually try to roleplay as evil, you need to keep in mind and actually try to behave like you are evil. Because if you say you're evil, and then turn around and proclaim and start acting as a character like you're good, your character's not going to be all that evil anymore, are they? Forgive me for moving around a lot. My back's starting to hurt because I've been standing up too long. But the class must go on. When you get into your character, you have to actually become your character. This consists of many different things, such as how does your character talk? Does your character change their voice? You've obviously gotten used to my voice now if you've listened this far. When I roleplay, I completely change my voice. I sound more like a child because my character, Riken, is a very young kitsune. So when I go to roleplay, I change my voice, and I drop my register into a completely different one, and someone walks in and asks for a map, and I could talk like this, or what I do. There's a map? Where can we find the map? This is going to be so much fun. Can we go find the map? The map would be so much fun. I think he has the map. Let's go see if he has a... There's a kitty cat on the floor. Hi, kitty cat. Is this your kitty cat? You see my point. I completely change my voice, and in changing my voice, this becomes a trigger for me mentally that tells me that I am role-playing and allows me to better stay in character. A lot of people do the voice things, but the point is that you have to come up with some way to think differently, to realize that you are in character, or you're not going to be able to hold it. Now, as I said a little bit ago, it's all about how you respond. And you don't want to respond, well, my character says such and such. Do you refer to yourself in the third person all the time? You need to be willing to actually react like your character. This isn't a D&D game. This isn't text-based roleplay. You're not sitting comfortably in a chair ready to roll some dice, and you don't have the leisure of taking 5 minutes to type out a response, to send, to keep the roleplay going. You need to react, and you need to react quickly. If someone comes in and proclaims that they're trying to find the whores, you don't go, well, my character likes whores. No. You jump up because your character likes whores. You jump up and look around and go, let's go find the whores, and off you storm. Alright, I've made my point. Now, one important thing that you have to remember when you are role-playing is that you have to stay within Amtgard rules. And if you're role-playing at a kingdom event, you also have to be careful to obey the event rules at the same time. Just because you are role-playing does not mean you are role-playing a different game. When you are playing Amtgard, you are playing Amtgard, and even if you are role-playing as Amtgard, you still have to obey all of the Amtgard and event rules at the same time. A classic example of this is Kingdom of Crystal Groves. When you go to an event, they ID you and they tag your wrist with a color-coded bracelet. And this color-coded bracelet tells you, anyone else, how old you are, which tells you if you should be smoking or if you should be drinking. The situations such as this are ones where you actually do look beyond the character, and this is where it gets a little confusing, because you want to stay in character, you want to do your thing, and you want to have a good time. But the person who you are interacting with and talking with, and you're talking about liquor, and you're talking about getting drunk, and that person's wristband in real life says that they are not 21. Well, 21 is the legal drinking age. It doesn't matter that you've been standing there role-playing about drinking this whole time. If that person reaches for a beer, you have to stop them and say, no, dude, you're not 21. It's perfectly okay to hand that person a can of Coke and tell them, let's pretend this is the beer, and then resume the roleplay. But the point is that the Amtgard rules and the event rules, and most importantly, state, local, and federal laws supersede, kind of form an umbrella over all of Amtgard roleplay. And finally, when you are role-playing, there will be times and situations where you want to leave roleplay for some reason. Now, this could be because your kids are talking to you. This could be that, you need to ask somebody to go get you something or do something, and it's a real-life situation, and it's not roleplay. When you drop out of roleplay like this, it is called out of character. And in Amtgard, there is no designated way to be out of character. So, if you need to drop character for some reason and you are role-playing with, let's say you're role-playing with 2 or 3 other people and your kids come up and start talking to you. Hey guys, hold on a second. Yeah, what do you need, honey? Okay, come on, let's go get you a Band-Aid. The roleplay will continue without you. The point is that you need to designate and actually let people know that you have left character and that you are dealing with a real-life situation. When you are ready to rejoin the roleplay, just walk back up and rejoin the roleplay. People will know that you're roleplaying again. Some people put their hand on their head, which in Amtgard normally signifies dead. A lot of roleplayers accept this as out of character as well. Just in some way, shape, or form, let people know that you are wanting to roleplay, that you are, leaving the roleplay, so that they can understand and, if necessary, wait for you to return to the roleplay. And finally, let's move on to character creation. Creating a character in Amtgard is a very big deal. And one of the biggest things that happen is the new people come in, and they're brand new to roleplay. And they come in and they say, okay, great, I've got a chance to roleplay. I am going to be a dragon in human form who was born to a human mother and a dragon father, and I have all these amazing powers, and I am a crown prince of my realm, and I am immortal, and you get the idea. I highly suggest that you leave the more complicated characters out of the equation until you have some experience role-playing. Now, here's why. People will come out of the gate and decide to make themselves into a half badger, half werewolf. Okay, we've got a badger werewolf. And then you start trying to role-play the character. How do you role-play a badger werewolf? How does a badger werewolf act? So you're sitting there as a brand new role player trying to figure out how roleplay in general works. And you keep forgetting that you're a badger werewolf. And the next thing you know, you find yourself having to stand there and looking at a bunch of people and like, so what is your character? Oh, it's a badger werewolf, and people start snickering. Just leave the more complicated characters aside at the beginning. Pick something, for now at least, that is more common. An elf, a dwarf, a half-elf, a human even. Humans are rarely role-played. Pick yourself something that is simple and that plenty of myths and lore and legends exist about already, because you can take the knowledge of those legends and those myths, and use them to play your character. And most importantly, if your character is a common type that other people can find, that other people can identify with, you can get help role-playing your character. Now, when you've got several role-plays under your belt and you've got this, then you can think about creating a second character or a third character who is more advanced. I told you a while ago my character is a four-tailed kitsune. I have been role-playing since I was 13 years old. I'm not going to go so far as to give away my age here, but let's just say it's more than half my life. I have worked up to the more detailed characters. I started with an Aasimar, which is a D&D character, essentially a character race that is an elf with wings. Elf with wings. Okay, it's an elf. Yeah, easy. Now, it comes down to you've got your character race decided on, and you know that your character is going to be simple because you're just starting out. Now it's time to name your character. Now, the name of your character is not a big deal. Alright, a lot of people freak out at this point. Oh, I've got to have the perfect name, and oh, what if I get it wrong? And oh, it's not a big deal. If you want to name your character Bob for now, and 5 months from now you decide that your character's name should actually be Randolph, it's not really a big deal. Just tell the people you've been role-playing with that you've changed your character's name to better suit the character, and they will comply. You're not going to get a lot of hell for it. The most complicated thing you're going to deal with in Amtgard is if your character name is also the name that you chose for your persona in Amtgard. In that case, you will have to go to the Prime Minister of your park and inform him or her that you have changed your name from Bob to Randolph. Now, some people get really, really creative when it comes to their character names. Excuse me. I have always preferred a simplistic name that is easy to pronounce, because when you decide that your name is Alejandro Niquiso Lambeo, okay, gets a little difficult for someone else to remember what to call you, and before you know it, they're calling you Alejandro. So pick something relatively easy. Pick something that, when it is spelled out, can actually be read at least decently by someone. Now, Riken often gets mistaken and people say Riken. It's close enough. I know they're talking to me. It's a simple pronunciation change to the I, to the long I, and everybody's like, oh, okay. Now, take your time in creating the name and find something that you are comfortable with. You don't really have to worry about middle names or surnames or anything like that unless you really want to. What you must remember, especially for those of you just starting out, is that you do not automatically become a lord or a lady or a baronet or anything like that. No. In Amtgard, you have to earn even something as simple as the lady title. So you should stay away from calling yourself Prince Bob. Because if you call yourself Prince Bob, then people are going to get confused, because technically in the game, Prince is the head of a principality. Not a kingdom, a principality. It's a step below kingdom. But the point is that this is an elected position that only the person who is elected gets to use. So you've gone to all the trouble and background to create yourself as a prince, and you're not royalty. The lady title, the lord title, baroness, baronet, knights, especially, dame and sir. In Amtgard, these have to be earned through hard work and dedication to the game. So when you are naming your character, leave these titles out. Okay? Now, we've got your character, we know their race, we know their name. Now it's time to start putting some meat on the bones. Think to the last book that you read, the last TV show that you really watched. Can you honestly describe the main character in a couple of sentences? Is Harry Dresden just a wizard who lives in Chicago? No. Harry Dresden is the wizard who lives in Chicago, whose name is posted in the Yellow Pages, who runs his own business but doesn't do love potions, and who gets into all sorts of crazy adventures and finds himself fighting a bunch of bad. You see my point, okay? To start rounding your character out, you need to start asking questions of yourself and figuring them out. What is your character's background? Please don't do orphan. Orphan has been done to death. Just trust me. What's your character's background? What was their family like? How many brothers and sisters do you have? What did your father do? What did your mother do? How did you get to where you are now? How old is your character? What can your character do? Now, in Amtgard Roleplay, what your character can do is limited to those abilities that your character actually has, because you have earned them through playing the game. Now, this is where people get confused. For example, in the game, I am a level 6 healer, a level 6 druid, and a level 4 scout. Now, people sit there and go, wait, okay, I want to play Riken. Is she just a level 6 healer? Well, what if I want to play Bob? Is Bob going to be the level 6 druid? No, it doesn't work like that. Everything that your character knows how to do in the game, because you have earned those levels and honestly know how to play them, are what your character knows how to do. Those skills do transfer because you've earned them in the game. However, it's important to understand that dual classing, as it's called, playing more than one class at a time, is not allowed in all gaming situations. So, even though your character is a level 6 healer, level 6 druid, level 4 scout, when it actually comes to the roleplay situation, you will have to choose. Okay, today Riken is going to be the level 6 druid. And you put on your druid garb, and you play as a druid. But these are the details that help bring your character to life. Does your character know how to climb trees? Where did your character get that scar? Now, if you join the group called Mid-Atlantic Amtgard for Team Roleplay, there is a link to a site that has 40 questions listed out that you can ask your roleplay character and write answers to and learn who they are. Now, if you just Google this, I'm certain you can find it yourself or something like it, and use these questions as a guide to help you round out your character and become a more balanced, creative type of person who is, who comes off the pages and actually comes to life and starts standing there and talking back to people. A lot of people often wonder about roleplay garb. As you can clearly see, I am garbed out for this video. Now, for those of you who don't know, in Amtgard, we like to wear specific clothing to play in, which we call garb. In this case, I have on an ankle-length green chemise, and it is actually a full separate dress. It's only being stopped right now by the belt, but it is a full separate dress, and I have on a secondary dress over the first. It does get a little warm. Now, your roleplay garb may not be appropriate to fight in. This goes especially well for women who aren't used to wearing long skirts, for cloaks, for dangly, shiny bits that are delicate. You want to keep those off the fighting field. Those are for roleplay only. And if you end up in a fighting situation in roleplay, it is perfectly acceptable to go, dude, hang on a second. I don't want to tear my cloak. Take it off. Drop it. Okay, let's go. Now, another mistake that people often make is putting their character in a certain set of garb. And this character wears the green underdress and the purple overdress. And when I'm playing Bob wears black pants and a white shirt. Well, that's all well and good. Until you're at a 3-day event and you want to roleplay Riken all weekend. How do you think this green dress and this purple dress are going to feel on day 3? Yeah, let's not go there. So, don't limit yourself to a specific outfit. It is okay to have more than one outfit. Don't let people identify you by the outfit. If they look up the second day and you're in different clothes and say, "Who are you?" you look at them and go, "I'm still Riken." "Why are you in those clothes?" "You're wearing the same thing you did yesterday?" "Gross." Yeah, okay, you get the point. Now, I believe this is just about done. The only finishing piece of advice that I have to give you is that every roleplay situation is going to be different. There are going to be different rules. There are going to be different house rules. Anytime you find yourself roleplaying, take the time to find someone who is in charge or knows what's going on and ask them, or even someone who's more experienced than you, and ask them, what are today's rules? Amtgard is not like other LARPs. We do not have a fleshed out, set in stone, 100%, these are the rules, this is the way you roleplay. We don't have it. So take the time to check and figure out before you go anywhere and start roleplaying. You might go to one event where you get 4 lives per refresh, and there's a refresh every 2 hours, and, have at it, have fun. And you might go to the next event and you might have 1 life all weekend long. So it's always a wise idea to check the house rules and see what is acceptable and what is legal, because it will change from event to event. Otherwise, the best piece of advice I can give you as a role player, is to have fun. Roleplay is a game. If you don't understand what's going on, ask someone what's going on. If you need to drop out of character, to ask someone who is more advanced, who is more experienced than you, what's going on, do so. The point is, have fun. This is a game. At the end of the day, that is what is supposed to be, is a game. You are not supposed to be miserable. You are not supposed to be sitting off in the corner by yourself moping because you're not having fun. If you're not having fun, figure out why and have fun. You deserve it. You're going through all of this effort in order to roleplay, and you should enjoy it. We should all enjoy it. Well, I can't think of anything else to tell you, so thank you for watching and thank you for listening, and I hope this helps those of you who need to learn how to roleplay do a better job at it. I hope this has helped at least someone. Alrighty, once again, this is Riken from the Valley of Smoke, from the Kingdom of Crystal Groves, signing off and wishing you all happy roleplay.